Welcome to Refocus, where we rewind the moments too good to miss. Short takes, big takeaways, no attention span required. Let's get into it. Let's refocus. Ellie, thank you so much for coming on the Hidden 20%.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming down south. I know it's not that far. We were in touch before you'd published your book, and now you've published your book. Congrats.
Thank you.
I've read it. I think it's brilliant. And I wanted to just start by just picking out a few things, a few choice sort of phrases, and maybe if you can help listeners, watchers, etc., understand, because I think there's some mega important stuff. First one was the lost generation. I just loved the phrasing and wondered if you could, given that we're both part of that lost generation, and I'm sure many people listening and watching are also part of that lost generation, maybe you could just outline what that is.
Yeah, so kind of the idea that like there's all of these conversations happening at the moment, especially in the media, of like everyone's getting diagnosed with ADHD nowadays and everyone thinks they're autistic and all this stuff. And it's like trying to explain the fact that actually, no, these people that are getting diagnosed later in life have always been autistic, have always had ADHD. They just slipped through the net, weren't diagnosed when they should have been as children. So now it's kind of like, that lost generation of people who are now hopefully starting to find answers and get those diagnoses. And it's like, there's no wonder that we've got all of these people to catch up on because we were missed initially rather than it just like magically appearing out of nowhere. People think of the autistic spectrum especially as like a line from a little bit autistic to incredibly autistic. And it's like, that's just not the case. It's a circle and it's like different experiences and those things like change over time. And I think in a way it's used in people who are lower support needs and higher masking. I think sometimes there can be kind of like, oh yeah, I'm autistic, but I'm not like those autistic people. And it's like, no, you are. We're all the same. Like, yes, those people have higher support needs. They might have more difficulties. They might be disabled in more ways, but they're not lesser than you. I think a lot of people who are very high masking and very low support needs are getting diagnosed later in life because they've been able to kind of have the like mask and have these coping strategies to be able to go under the radar for such a long time. But that means that they've kind of grown up in this ableist society that we all live in, where it is kind of like, oh, no, you don't want to be like those people who can't work and they can't do things for themselves. So that's ingrained in you. Like, I find it really hard still to admit and to accept what I can and can't do. Like, even then me saying like, oh yeah, I just find it hard to shower. Like, that's a really hard thing to accept as a human. Like, I actually can't wash myself properly sometimes. Like, to admit that is really icky. It feels of like, oh no, I'm fine, I'm a fully functioning human and I'm great and I can do everything, and it's like, actually I can't, and that's okay that I can't do that. And I think when you've grown up in a world where it is so like hyper individualistic and capitalism is just everything basically, it's hard to accept that you can have support needs and rely on other people and find things difficult and also be like an equally valid human.
What's the journey you've been on with medication and ADHD? Yeah,
so when I first got diagnosed, I was kind of like, I didn't go into the diagnostic process thinking that I would go on medication. It was very much more for like understanding, validation, whatever. And I was kind of like, I'm not really interested in, I think I had really, I was very reluctant to go on medication because of the experience that I'd had with antidepressants. Mm-hmm. I was put on antidepressants at 15. By 17, I was on like the maximum dosage that a fully grown adult man can be on, which is, clearly not great to happen, and I couldn't get out of bed and all of this stuff. So for me, I was very much like, I don't want to be back on medication. And then I had a friend that was going through the ADHD diagnosis process at the same time. And she was kind of in the same place. And she was like, I've been looking on Reddit and everyone kind of says that it is really helpful. And she's like, I just feel like it would be silly for me to have gone to all of this effort to get the diagnosis to not even give it a go. And I was like, actually, you kind of like, that makes sense what you're saying now. I was like, I think I might give it a go. Like, if I don't like it, I can not take it, but at least I know this way.
What did you believe the medication was going to do?
I think I wasn't really sure. I think when I'd looked online, it was people sort of saying that they could just think about one thing at a time, which
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, that's fake news. I think as well because like the only other sort of similar experience I'd had was antidepressants, and that's not almost like a tangible difference. It's just like kind of gradually over time things feel less intense, I guess. So yeah, I think I didn't really know what to expect, but I took it at like 8 a.m. and then within half an hour I was on the phone to my mum crying of like, I can just like, my brain is quiet. I can like think.
Wow.
This is just amazing. I don't know. Like I was like, my brain is just quiet. I can just remember this. Like I think I probably don't like. I'm used to it now, but I can remember the first thing of being like, almost like feeling like I was in like an echoey room of like, oh, is this
like
what
this
people
room.
have? Yeah, I'm like, is this what people have been having their whole lives? Of like, it was like the first silence, almost like, you know, when you like turn the extractor fan off after you've been cooking, and you're like, it was like that inside my brain.
Noise.
Yeah, but then very strangely, that was also the day that I posted my LinkedIn post, which was like the first post that went viral, which is like kind of what kickstarted all of this. So it's like I had 30 minutes of silence, and then it was like I've not had a quiet moment since. But yeah, so I kind of been on the same medication since then. I went up a bit in dosage, and then I've come back down a bit in dosage since I've been self-employed, because I kind of found, I think it's really tricky as an autistic ADHD as well, because when I'm on medication, it is amazing in terms of I can do things, basically. Like I can get started, I can sit and work, rather than I feel like when I'm not on medication, it's like dragging huge weights on my feet to do anything. Everything's just hard, whereas the medication makes it just easier to do things. But I also can't rest if I've taken my medication, because it is this like, I'm almost like insatiable for like stimulation and work, and like I need to be doing something. I'm like a capitalism machine when I'm on medication. Like I need to be achieving something, I need to be working, I need to be doing something. So as an autistic person, that's not ideal, because I need to rest. So I've kind of got to a place now where I'll take it like 3 or 4 days a week, and then over the weekend I won't take it, so I can actually like switch off. But I think it's a very personal choice. I think a lot of people choose to go without medication. I think maybe if I was like in like different places in life as well. Like I think when I go on holiday, for example, I probably will only take it like every few days, just to make sure that I'm not then just like, I don't know, going cold turkey. But it's not, if I was traveling, for example, I think at that point I probably wouldn't be on medication at that time, because I don't need to be able to like work in the same way. But I think definitely for like productivity, I can't imagine not having it and having to do anything of any value. My life was basically a cycle of run myself into the absolute ground, be unwell, recover, go again. And I think I'm still in that cycle, but at least I'm sort of conscious of it now, and I know that it's happening. And it's, I think, hopefully getting less like severe, like less low lows, and less frequent as well. I guess the most kind of obvious now looking back example was like every school holidays, I can feel it now, my throat's going, because my body knows that it's like almost Christmas, but every single school holidays I would be unwell, like physically I'd like lose my voice, I'd be like ill, I'd be run down, because it was like the whole school term I'd be like going, like obviously school is not great for undiagnosed any neurodivergent person, and I'd be doing all these extra things. I'd be going to my dance classes, and I'd be seeing my friends and doing all this stuff, and I'd be going. And then it's like I would finally stop, and my body would just be like, what the heck has just happened for the last 6 weeks?
Crumble.
Yeah. And I think, I definitely was like unaware of that cycle that I was in. And I think, the obviously understanding is a massive part, and knowing why the crash comes. Because before I think it was just like, oh no, I'm like, my depression's back, my anxiety's back, I'm in a really bad place, like the world's going to end, not knowing like why do I feel so horrendous, and almost feeling guilt for feeling that bad as well, because I think that was a lot of it. Like when my mental health was at its worst, it was like sort of feeling a bit like ungrateful. Like I know that that's not how mental health works, that you have to have like air quotes a reason to be unhappy, but for me it was like I'm doing well at school. I've never wanted for anything. I've got a family that love and support me. Like, why do I feel so awful all the time? Whereas now I'm like, oh, I'm just really tired. Like, I've just done too much. I've just like worn myself out.
Thankfully, in the simplest way I view my own brain is I've got an accelerator and a brake, and my ADHD is a foot on the floor accelerator, and being autistic is an absolute brake, because I want process and system and analysis and routine and structure and no risk and order, and then my ADHD is like, no, I want risk, chaos, pace, impatience, danger, give it to me all fast. Now, yesterday, and again. Yeah. And I want it again and again and again. You said, which I loved, that you've learned to work with your brain, not against it.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really kind thing to say to yourself.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing that especially with ADHD, I think it's just like, if you try and like fight, you're never going to win. So like, it's just not going to happen. So if you sort of like go with the like path of least resistance, like even things like, I don't know, one example I saw was like, if you always leave your clothes like on the chair in your bedroom or whatever, just put a basket on the chair. So it's like, at least they're not as messy on the chair, but they're in the basket. But don't tell yourself, I'm going to start putting them in the wardrobe, because you're not going to start. If you were going to put them in the wardrobe, you would have been doing it the whole time. They wouldn't be on the chair. So I think it is that of sort of like taking the fights that you want to take.
And I think that's really great for people to hear. If someone's listening and struggling, or maybe self-diagnosing, or just in that, tricky time, what advice would you give? What would you say?
I think if and where possible, like finding your people that's the thing that has got me through everything. Of like, I now have a place to belong, a friendship group to belong to. That's mostly online. It's mostly like a group chat. It's mostly texting my friends rather than being in physical spaces. But just knowing that I have people around me that get it, and that love me as I am, rather than for someone that I feel like I need to be in their presence, is like the best thing to come out of all of this. I'd never sort of had any sort of solid friendship groups. I had an awful time at school. I've never had that space of like, oh, these people love me for me. And I think finding that is the best thing to come of all of this. So yeah, if you can access spaces where other neurodivergent people are, whether that's online, whether that's locally, whether that's in person, finding people that get it, I think is the best thing. And like, I think it's so much like additional energy to always be explaining why you're feeling a certain way, whereas like you can just do it without having to explain, and that's okay. But yeah, I think that would be my thing of find your people.
Find your people, like that.